Nobody tells you that your first shift in EMS feels exactly like being dropped into a group project where everyone else has already done this before, and somehow you're in charge of the patient. The scariest part isn't the call, it's realizing that no one is double-checking you. They just assume that you know what you're doing. What's up? This is ToneDrop, the podcast for EMS, healthcare, and anyone who's ever heard a pager go off and immediately said, "Oh." I'm James, and this is the kind of EMS conversation that only happens at the station after midnight when the admin is asleep. Alright, let's talk about the first day screwing this up. Everyone remembers their first call, not the BS one, not the patient has toe pain times 6 years. I mean the call where you pull up and go, "Oh, this is happening whether I'm ready or not." I remember thinking I was prepared. I passed registry. I had that gold patch shimmering bright on my chest. I had the confidence of someone who didn't yet know how dumb they were. And then I stepped on scene, and my brain did that Windows shutdown noise. Fire's chilling, PD's already leaning on the car, and I'm standing there like, is this a test? Is someone filming this? Are y'all not seeing what I'm seeing? But here's the thing that nobody likes to admit. EMS is powered almost entirely by fake confidence. Not arrogance, but fake confidence. The I'm calm on the outside, screaming internally kind. Because if the patient realizes you're nervous, now everyone's nervous. And if fire realizes you're nervous, congratulations, you're never living that down. So slow your voice down, learn to walk and not run, nod like you understand, and say things like, "All right, sir, we're just going to take care of you." Meanwhile, your internal dialogue is just, "Please don't die. Please don't die. I swear I'll study more." Let's talk about my very first call as a brand new paramedic. Just to give you a bit of context, I passed National Registry one day, graduated paramedic school the next day, and that very same night I went to get my license. The next night, I was on a truck by myself, running the show. The very first call was a 28-year-old female, 30 weeks pregnant, in SVT at a rate of 220. And this threw me for a loop because in my head I knew what to do. I knew to give adenosine, 6, 12, and 12 at the time, follow AHA guidelines. We got this. We did this multiple times in paramedic school. But it was never on a pregnant patient. So inside I'm freaking out. I call med control, speak to the doctor, explain the situation, and he tells me to go ahead with the adenosine. So I start an IV, and the fire medic hands me a syringe of adenosine that he drew up for me. I push it fast, I flush behind it, wait a few seconds, and the patient converts. So cool, this is exactly what we wanted. Everything worked out perfectly. Except when I went to call a report to the hospital, and I told them confidently that the patient was converted with 6 milligrams of adenosine, the fire medic riding with me said, "Oh no, that was 12 milligrams. "What do you mean that was 12 milligrams? I was already concerned about giving her 6. Why did we jump to 12? Is what I said in my head. But on the outside, I was calm. I was collected. And I just said, okay. So we converted with 12. No big deal. We converted the patient back to a normal sinus rhythm. She reports feeling better. This was my first example of where street medicine and book medicine differ. This call taught me a couple of things. Number one, following the book and dumping medicine into a patient does not make you a good paramedic. What makes you a good paramedic is understanding why you're giving the patient the medicine that you are. What makes you a good paramedic is being able to adapt and understand that most people don't convert with 6 milligrams of adenosine. Second, this goes back to that fake confidence thing. Because had I freaked out externally like I did on the inside, my patient probably would have thought something was wrong. And third, always double check the person that's giving you the medicine, especially if it's a firefighter. All right, so let's talk about rookie moments, because if you say you didn't have one, you're either lying or you're the problem. Mine was one of those moments where nobody got hurt, but I knew deep down that the EMS guys were watching me like, yeah, we'll let this one slide once. This was during my basic EMT days, where I was stuck in the cycle of doing what I like to call the renal roundup. You know, back-to-back dialysis transports, same nursing homes, same patients, same exact smells, every single time, every single day. We pick up this regular nursing home patient, 0 complaints, but his toenails. Listen, these weren't toenails. These were structures. I'm talking long, curled, yellowed, aggressively confident, like they had their own zip code. Honestly, they looked like they had been growing since the Clinton administration. So we get to the dialysis clinic. I'm pushing the stretcher in, doing that tight turn through the automatic doors, feeling real professional. And I don't realize the patient's foot is just hanging out there. Next thing I know, that toenail hit the handicap door button, and it just falls off. No blood, no pain, patient didn't even react. But what did hit the floor was a massive, yellowed, curved, foul-smelling toenail, just sitting there on the tile in the dialysis clinic. I freeze. I look at the patient. Patient's chilling. Look at my partner. They saw absolutely everything. And without breaking eye contact with my partner, I gently nudge that toenail with my foot and kick it under the dialysis chair. Gone. Evaporated. Never happened. No need to document. We finish the handoff like professionals. No one says a word. But when we get back to the truck, my partner looks at me and just says, "So we're not going to talk about the toenail, huh?" That's when I learned 3 important things about EMS. 1, dialysis clinics have seen worse. 2, some toenails are just ready to retire. And 3, there are moments in this job where the best clinical decision is to say absolutely nothing and keep moving. Somewhere under that dialysis chair is a toenail still haunting that clinic. All right, now it's time for the ToneDrop Confessionals. No names, no judgment, HIPAA safe, emotionally unsafe. These are cases that people have sent in for us to review and talk about. So number 1, brand new EMT, shortness of breath call. They put the patient on a non-rebreather, cranked it to 15. The patient immediately says they feel better. Their partner looks at them and quietly goes, "You gonna turn the tank on?" We've all done that. We've all put the patient on the oxygen tank and forgot to turn it on. But that wasn't oxygen you were treating your patient with. That was confidence. Placebo medicine works really well until somebody checks your tank. All right, number 2. First shift cleared to talk on the radio. They tried to give a routine report update. Hit the button, forgot what they were going to say, let go, hit it again, still nothing. Third try, they just said, "Stand by." Nothing will humble you faster than realizing an entire county just listened to you panic in silence. I think every dispatcher remembers that moment. They just pretend they don't. All right, number 3, and this one is pure EMS brain. They got to the ER, gave report, nurse asked for the blood pressure. They stared at their monitor like it was going to answer for them. You can remember the patient's birthday, their med list, which nursing home they came from, and what they ate for breakfast, but the blood pressure, gone. That vital sign entered the witness protection program. And see, this is why I tell these stories, because the toenail thing felt bad until I remembered we've all done stuff like this. We're all just dumb together. All right, last one. This is number 4. And this one made me pretty uncomfortable, as I'm sure it will for you. Trauma call. They grab the bag, run in, unzip it, and realize that they grabbed the PD bag. Just stared at it for a second and quietly zipped it back up. That moment right there, that's when your soul leaves your body for a second. And you don't tell anyone. You just fix it and carry that shame forever. All right, so that closes confessionals. But that's why we do it. Not because it's funny, even though it is, but because if you're new, you need to know this stuff happens. You don't learn EMS by being perfect. You learn it by catching your mistakes before they matter. and sometimes by kicking the evidence under a chair. So if you've got a confessional, send it in. No names, no judgment. Like I said, HIPAA safe, but emotionally unsafe. And if you work dialysis, check under your chairs. So here's the part that nobody talks about. After the call, after the shift. You go home, you shower, you sit down, and your brain goes, cool, we're going to replay that for the next 6 hours. Did I miss something? Did I sound stupid? Did anyone notice I had no idea what was going on? That's when you realize EMS doesn't stay on the truck, it follows you home. So if you're new and listening to this, let me save you some stress. Feeling overwhelmed doesn't mean you suck, it means you care. The people who scare me on this job are the ones who weren't nervous on their first day. You know, the ones that still think that every single patient has anxiety because that means they don't have to use their brain. Confidence doesn't come from knowing everything. It comes from realizing you can screw up, learn, and still show up tomorrow. If this episode felt a little too real, that's on purpose. Send it to your partner, your crew, or that rookie who's pretending they're fine. I'm James. This is ToneDrop. Stay safe. I'll catch you after the next tone.